Hi everyone, this is Jeannie Hall and I'm a creative empowerment coach, and today I'd like to talk about authenticity in your writing. So I'm actually an author and a coach, but I'm the author of both fiction, romantic thrillers, and nonfiction for my coaching practice. And one thing I have learned through the whole publication process and through the writing process of all the different books I've done is that you have to be real and honest with your own writing and honest to yourself. So if you go out there and try and write in a way that's like, oh, this is popular right now, let me try writing that, or let me sanitize my writing, let me not be who I really am when I write, then it's going to brew this recipe of you not being you, and it's not going to feel good to do that. And it may actually keep you from getting published, or it may, if you're self-publishing, it may keep you from being as happy with your work ultimately as you could be. Hey Yuko, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Hi Lucinda, thanks for watching. So if you're an author or a writer and you're trying to get published, or trying to self-publish, whichever way you go, it's really important to be you, because a few years ago I was not published yet. I was an aspiring writer, and I had written this really kind of hardcore, dark, romantic thriller, and I tried to get it published through one of the big 5 publishers, and this particular publisher, I was in a contest that was a national contest, and I was one of the top 10 finalists, and I was so anxious to get published, and it was so important to me that I knew that they had limitations on what they would accept as far as like profanity and certain kinds of explicit scenes and stuff like that, but mine was actually very dark. It was about a girl growing up in a religious cult, so it had some really dark imagery in it, and really kind of bad stuff happened to my characters. And even though I was in love with my book, and even though I loved what I had written, I went back through and I sanitized it, because I thought, oh, they'll never publish me because their guidelines are so strict. I can't use F-bombs, for example. I can't use this language or that language. I can't say that. I can't do that. Oh, I better pull that scene because that's a little hardcore. And I went through and I changed my novel that I had been working on for so long, because I was afraid they would reject me, and I wanted to be published so badly. And maybe some of you guys out there who are published can relate to this. Or maybe those of you who aren't published can relate to this. You want it so bad that you maybe do something you maybe shouldn't do. And so I had done that, and I ended up being one of the top finalists. I was a top 10 finalist. I was the top in my particular category that year. And I kept waiting for them to contact me and tell me I had a contract. I'm listening to all the other top 10 finalists, or most of them, and they received contracts from this publisher, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting to hear. And ultimately, a week later, I still hadn't heard anything, and I ended up emailing and finding out, oh, we're not offering one to anybody, and not anyone in that category. So my heart was broken, and I ended up, though, ultimately being glad, because I don't like that sanitized version of my novel. And ultimately I went with another publisher who took it as is, pretty much. And they, did some editing, and they'll always do that, and they'll make changes. That's normal for anybody who's a writer or an author. You'll make some changes. But if they want you to fundamentally change your story from who you are, the characters you wrote, the characters that you love and who feel real to you, that's not the best sign. And ultimately, if you do get published under those circumstances, you're going to be disappointed with it. You may regret it. And so it's really important to stay authentic to you when you're writing anything, whether it's, in my case, it was fiction that time around. I actually chose, my next book was a novella, and I chose to self-publish it because I wanted complete and utter freedom. I didn't want anyone telling me, you can't use that word, you can't do that scene, we want to change this up. I didn't want any of that. I wanted to write the book that came from my heart and came from my soul, and was me putting my characters out there. And if you go against that and you start changing things that you don't agree with at your core, then you're going to regret it later on, because then when that book is out there, and it's out there for either online or it's out there in print for other people to read, and your name's on the cover, that's the thing. Yes, your publisher's on there too, but it's your name. It's your name on that cover, on that spine of that book. And it's so important for you to feel like this is really mine and not somebody else's. So whether you're writing fiction, whether you're writing nonfiction, the same happened with my nonfiction books. I wanted I self-published all of them because I wanted my book to be mine, to be Jeannie Hall. Mine is the name on the cover. So I wanted what I put out there to be real and authentic to me. So if I felt like dropping a cuss word, whatever 4-letter word I wanted to, then I did. If I felt like making the point and being humorous and silly in a part to make a point or telling a little bit of a story to get to whatever I was trying to explain, I did. And that was real and that was me. And if people reject that and don't like it, that's fine. They don't like me, that's fine. But at least I know I'm being true to myself. Hey Nick, hey RJ, so nice to see you guys on here. So, if you're an author or a writer and you want to be published or you are being published, it's so important to stay true to yourself and real to your vision, because you can get published by somebody else. You can sanitize like I did. You can sanitize your book or your writing or your novel or whatever it is you're putting out there. And ultimately, you may regret that. You shouldn't have to pay the piper just to get published. If you're not being true to yourself, you will probably regret it later on. So my advice is to be true to yourself, even if that means going to CreateSpace and going and publishing it yourself and putting it out there. Because at least then that book with your name on it is really yours. And no one can take that away from you, and no one can change that because you're being true to you. In the grand scheme of things, later on, you'll probably look back and say, at least I was true to myself. So, hey, how are you? So it's just so important to be honest and authentic to who you are as a person, who you are as an author and a writer, because what you're putting out there is your own creativity, and no one else can write what you write or how you write. And that's what makes what you're doing so special. So just remember that as you're sending out books to publishers or as you're writing and self-publishing, whatever you're doing, be true to who you are as a person. And that way, when it gets out there and it's out there forever, you'll know that was me. And if you reject me, you reject me, but at least I was being me. I wasn't being some facade. I wasn't being false. I was being true. I was being real me, real Jeannie. That's who I am. And just feel that. Yeah, it's really great. I've not mentioned my book. Oh no, my book, actually I have several books, but the one I have tagged in this is The Joy of Writing, which is one of my, I'll put a link in the description for you, just a little ebook that I wrote that's a nonfiction. Sell. Thanks, Nick. But yeah, I've got a link in the description to my Amazon page that has my little Joy of Writing book. So, which to me, if you're not enjoying your writing, then you're missing the point, So if you're a writer and you felt drawn to writing and you love it, you got to have fun with it. You got to find the joy in it. And you're not going to enjoy it if you're not being real to yourself. So that's just my 2 cents. So this is Jeannie Hall signing off. Check out the link in the description if you're interested in my writing nonfiction book. It's a real short read and easy, and it's got some exercises at the end. So if you like that kind of stuff, check it out. It's only $2.99 on Amazon. So thanks so much and have a great day.